What's up, everybody? How y'all doing, fellow co-creators? Thank you for tuning in for another session of Tales of Dordania. I'm mad hyped. This is going to be a fun time. As you can see, we have another change of scenery. Again, all original prints from us here at Co-Creations. You have myself and Uncle Jimmy to thank for these, and we're pretty proud of them, pretty stoked about them, and very, very much happy to show them off. As you can see, some of them are painted even, which is even cooler. We, as you probably can tell from watching our different episodes, we're working on getting everything slowly painted up, including miniatures and landscapes and all that stuff too, just to show that everything we do print is very, very paintable. And we're using pretty much just basic model paints, and it's turning out really, really good. So, where we left off last session, Ara Maca came in and saved the day, saved the boys from the Kraken, then filled them in on some very, very needed to know knowledge, not only about kind of the quest, but also about different planes, the reality plane, ethereal plane, pocket dimensions, things of that nature. He also talked about soul, temporal soul states too. He then also told you guys a little bit about himself, and you were all kind of blown away. He hooked our main man Kai up here with the staff of extension that he has so chosen to name Kevin for some reason. And pretty much where we left off is everybody said they're pretty tired. Ara Maca all of a sudden disappeared about maybe 10 minutes ago into the night. And it's maybe about 8 p.m. or so at this point. And Behemoth decided to take first watch. However, before making a perception check, which you always need to do when you take first watch, check the area in your surroundings, he dove into his book. And please don't, fault Behemoth. He's hooked on the animals. He just got a pet. He wants to learn a little bit more. So he dove into the animal handling. Definitely he's going to get some reading, but at what cost? Our poor fellow Kai and Kieran, swap that quick, and had 10,000 gold each swiped out of their pockets that they were just given to by Ara Maca in turn for some favors that we don't know what's going to entail or when these are going to be cashed in or anything of that nature. And no one knows who stole the gold, how the gold went missing. It's just gone out of y'all's pockets as soon as y'all went dozed off to sleepy by in the tent. And that is where we shall start, is the three of you are sleeping. Gold has just been taken out of your pockets. Behemoth, we'll say you've been reading your book for 30 minutes, okay? 30 minutes, that's it. You don't have to roll for it, right? Add it to your time or whatever. Behemoth, is there anything you would like to do, my good man?
Perception check.
Oh, that! Well, damn, that's a good idea. Roll for perception.
That's a good idea.
18?
As you are kind of reading your book and you're diving deep into another chapter, you all of a sudden hear a weird snap of a twig. And as you look up, you see a ghastly looking figure kind of reaching in and dipping into the tent where your fellow companions are resting. What would you like to do? This figure is transparent in nature. You can pretty much see through it. It has almost kind of a very, very light, kind of bluish kind of tint, kind of aura to it. And it looks to be kind of like a man dressed in almost kind of like farming kind of clothes and something along that kind of nature. And as you're kind of viewing this, you see kind of off in the woods, two other kind of ghoulish kind of figures kind of appear in the same kind of transparent nature. However, these two are wearing more kind of traditional, you would say, let's say, exploring clothes. They look like these apparitions have kind of been places before they so chose to kind of go into this realm. And your best guess of being a whole 2 weeks old at this point is WTF. Because you have no fucking what this shit is. Now, what would you like to do?
I'd like to whip my hammer at the one near the tent. And at the same time, I'm going to scream just like, hey!
Okay.
Try to wake everybody up.
Roll to do all your hits with the hammer.
And as Behemoth attempts to throw his hammer through this apparition, he succeeds in doing just that, throwing it through the apparition. And it seems to do really no damage to it as it comes whizzing back into his hand, for it does have the return enchantment on his Dwarven Thrower. So that's why it returns back to his hand, kind of similar to Thor's hammer. And so literally the hammer returns and Behemoth realizes nothing happens. He shouts, and luckily it does wake up the party. Now the party realizes that there's a weird, ghastly farmer kind of apparition coming into the tent. And he doesn't seem to really want to harm any of them. Actually, he seems very, very drawn to Kai. And for some reason, he can't really speak. He can't really make much out. And so Tarek tries to actually go into a state of meditation to just, into his temporal soul state to see if he can somehow send a signal or try to contact, the other side into this ethereal plane and get some sort of feedback on who this is. And he does so with some decent skill, and he can't really make out who's telling him to, but someone's telling him to get this son of his, and he thinks he's referring to Kai, out of these woods, for they are, not to be something that's, messed around with or not to be ventured through. A lot of dark things are happening and are afoot throughout these woods. And he also says just to run and just to, get out and to leave. And, that's real all that, Terry can really make out. And when he returns into kind of, the reality plane, he kind of sees this ghost kind of trying to hug Kai, and Kai even kind of feels it, even being blind, just the embrace of kind of a familiar presence, someone definitely almost very, very close to him, kind of seeming to be related. Now, as this is happening, the other two apparitions are on the move, and Behemoth sees this. And he tries again to yell out to kind of warn them, and one of them starts heading towards Behemoth. The other heads directly into the tent. And as he does, he starts doing some very, very weird, necrotic damage, some cold damage to these guys as he's kind of passing through them, and they are not too happy about it. And this spirit that is, kind of around Kai is trying to protect Kai, it seems, for this ghost is not able to really seem to be able to harm Kai while he's in the embrace of this other spirit. And as this is all kind of happening, none of them are having any success really in doing any damage or figuring out what these other apparitions are wanting, and they're just taking a lot of damage. And Ara Maca all of a sudden reappears, and he throws with his kind of ghost arm a ghost dagger, and it's kind of in a kunai shape. And he tosses it and starts whipping out some crazy radiant damage and things of that nature to these spirits. And as he does, he informs everyone that apparently these are all jinn. Now, not everybody is sure if he's telling the truth or not, but that's at least what he's telling them for now. And so Ara Maca starts again saving kind of the day as they all start kind of doing damage. And the first spirit that seems to be killed, as far as everyone can tell, is the one that is in the embrace around Kai. And Ara Maca literally, snipes him with this ghost dagger, through the apparition's body as he kind of erupts into almost kind of nothingness, kind of a just, ball of, kind of white, yellowish light from the point of entry of the dagger. And he's kind of just gone. And eventually, as the battle kind of ensues, he takes out another of the apparitions, and as we kind of get to the final one, he readies his hand again as they're now kind of outside of the tent fighting in this little bit of a clearing. And everyone's, seeing this. Everyone's, kind of incurring. Ra's kind of, trying to protect everybody from these other apparitions that are definitely flying through and causing a lot of damage to the crew. And as he does, he kind of readies his hand to deal a very devastating blow.
The ghost dagger.
Yep.
Thank you.
The glowing one.
He's tossing the ghost dagger out and hits into this kind of a body, okay, as it hits into this spirit. You, now being awake, see this glimpse of this kind of golden shimmer of a dagger pierce through this kind of bluish, hue apparition. And it's not all the way through his body, but it's pierced directly into his back, lodged. You can actually see this kind of golden ghost dagger into his back because it's stuck. Then Ara is going to take an action to shoot out his claw hand on the ghost dagger, pull the dagger back to his ghost hand. So he pulls it with the real hand to the ghost hand. Ghost hand grabs it again. He's going to then make another action and just do pretty much the same thing and just pretty much retrieve it and then just toss it again right back at this guy. It's kind of the same thing. That one's not going to hit. And as he throws, this ghost kind of, dodges and kind of turns around. The dagger just kind of whizzes past. You see it for a brief second as it gets close to the ghost, disappears. You kind of hear Ara, damn it. He is then going to use his last action to shoot out the chain whip again, grab the ghost dagger, but on the retrieval, he is going to try to then whip it around so it comes back and hits the ghost on the retrieval. And we hit, barely, but we hit, thank goodness. As it comes back through this ghost, and you all see this kind of bluish apparition kind of chuckling, all of a sudden you see in this transparent body the chain whip whizzing back through his body, and all of a sudden, as the chain whip kind of comes through his chest, the golden dagger glows through, and you see it gets like ripped through pretty much the ghost's body. And as it does, as it gets ripped out of the hole, it emits into this kind of white glow, and you see this ghost apparition kind of fizzle into nothingness as it kind of dissipates. And all three of these weird apparitions, these supposed jinn, have disappeared and are gone and vanquished. And Ra's kind of standing there, kind of breathing a little heavy as he's just kind of done this last kind of action. You all are awake and alive and up. What would you all like to do? You've only been asleep for about 30 minutes. So unfortunately, not really long enough for a short rest or to get any of your stuff back. But what would you all like to do?
And as this all kind of, happens, they decide that they definitely want to take a rest. And so Ra decides to even, take first watch so they can get some rest. And, Kieran, before going to bed, kind of inquiries about the gold that has disappeared from his purse while they were sleeping. Kai just hits the hay. And he tells them all things will be revealed in time, but his best guess is that the spirits had taken it and he had not seen anything else. They all then get some sleep and Ara takes the watch. They all kind of wake up very early the next morning to find that Ara had already left. Luckily, though, he did leave a satchel with some gold and a little note for Kieran and Kai, actually, as well, telling them that he was going to replace the gold and sorry that it had happened. So, again, they're really not sure too much about this guy, Ara Maca, but at the moment they trust him and they think he's a pretty solid guy. As he explains that he had to head out at the sign of, sunlight to get back to Alacardia, where it's kind of eternally, dim during daytime so we could get to, back to the castle and Castle Mars. So then the party continued, on their way through the woods, and as they did, they actually ended up kind of coming across this very strange, mysterious chapel after a couple hours of traveling through the forest. And as they did, it seemed very kind of, ornate, at one time very, very, admired, and now almost a little, kind of forgotten about, almost kind of like a relic in the woods, and windows were shattered through. The stained glass was broken, everything on the wood looked a little old, a little rotted, and even, some of the stone structures are beginning to crack and wither away. And so they were a little curious, and as they kind of approached into, this chapel, they realized somebody was inside, literally at, the altar, seeming to be kind of praying. And as they approach, very, very curiously, kind of surrounding it, he kind of stands and turns around and lets them know that he knows that they're there, and that they're more than welcome to come in. He means them no harm. He is a friend. And as they enter, he begins to tell them a tale of who he is and how he came to be there.
Obvious. Since you told me I don't have to lie, right, that means you shouldn't lie to me here, right? It's just like a good fair trade. You gonna kill us?
No, I have zero intentions on causing harm to any of you or your companions.
Alright, second thing. Who sent you here? Because you said you got sent here.
Oh, there's... Oh, a story I haven't been asked about in
Who did it?
Oh Lord.
many years.
Kieran takes a seat.
Do you have time? He kind of looks at you
Kieran
all.
takes a seat on the ground.
Kieran just kind of sits down and just, I'm ready. Oh, it was, I believe now, yes, a good 101 years ago when I first came to this land. Believe it or not, I come from another realm entirely. Myself and my companions, there were a good many of us, close to 300 to be exact. We were trying to extinguish evil in our land, witches and barbaric nature, and casting all sorts of cursed spells amongst people.
Like, holy crud, there's other worlds?
We were trying to rid it, however, in our efforts at the grand the grand battle, we found ourselves stuck in a spell that was cast on a portal of kinds created and amassed itself. It swallowed me and my fellow companions whole, and all of us. For we don't even know if we succeeded in our mission back home, for we've never been able to return. Once we came to this land, we were approached by beings of enormous power, similar to ones that we had heard of in our crusades in our land. For me and my fellow knights, we were going throughout the land trying to spread good news and fortune to those. However, some, of course, did not see it as that. And there was much opposition, but when we came here, we were met with these very powerful beings who told us that we were, one, not meant to be here in this realm ever. And that this wasn't a place for us, but being that we had found our way here and they didn't quite know how to send us back, it seemed that fate had decided we must stay. And me and my companions, we had a transformation, for we seemed to have heightened abilities throughout this land. Different powers, more attunement to different things and knowledge in nature. For in this realm, there are things that frankly don't exist where I come from. And to be honest, there were some of us who sought these powers to their own personal gain, and there were others who sought peace and tranquility for themselves throughout this land. Then there were others who tried to protect those who could not say and choose for themselves. I find myself amongst that group, though. There are almost none of us left. It seems that humans here simply do have much more to give to this realm for some reason. And we tried, but there's so few of us left now. And it was a good 20 years ago or so when I sought refuge here in the forest with my son. And after his mother passed, we came here to seek a new life and to try to help those weary travelers. However, my son sought for the adventure, and he seeked out distant lands. He sought out power himself, and with his innate ability to claim it, he did. And he resides very well in these days, I do say. And I am happy to be close to him. However, we have not spoken in close to 20 years or so.
Bro, you're Theo's father, aren't you?
No.
As you kind of say this, he kind of looks up. You know, my son.
What?
You know Theo.
He sent us here.
How is he? You see this kind of joyful kind of glow almost in this old man's kind of eyes return.
I mean,
How is he?
What's your name?
I am Warren Mars.
Yo, we should totally hit him up.
I am a knight of, as far as I know, the last crusade. And I was, like I said, sent here. But my son, you spoke, you know him, you've spoken to him.
Hey, you want to speak to him?
Have you been to-
Yeah, I got this saying spot right here. I talk to him all the time. Here, you want to talk to Dad? Or your son?
And you see almost this kind of, not shameful look,
Like
but
giddiness.
almost kind of fearful kind of look. After so much time, I wouldn't know what to say. I'd rather see him, but making the journey to his land, I've feared for so many years, and with him now taking over, I've heard from Dracula himself. I don't even know the current state of my son's mind. What has happened to him? Is he leading? What is he doing in
idea.
the land of Dracula? Yes.
Alright. He basically rules everything. He's a powerful dude on the planet. He's scary, but if you're on his nice side, he gives you anything you want.
So he did succeed in
He's
his
nice.
ventures and his quests.
Yeah, I go here. He's like his best friend.
Yeah, I have an idea.
Really?
I wouldn't say his best friend.
Well.
You know him well, though.
Yeah, they're ups and downs, you know.
I mean, he's helped me a lot. He's done a lot for me, for sure.
You look like you've had many. Don't take this the wrong way, my friend. But you've had issues that you've needed help taking care of.
Yep.
Sorry.
I've been.
My son was able to help you in this.
Very much so.
I have an idea.
Did he do so in a, forgive my intrusion, but in a light manner? Was he giving in this way? Was he helpful in this nature? Was this not a malevolent or in order to do something else? He was truly trying to help you?
He was. He's a very wise person.
Friends, you do not know the joys that this brings me in my heart after so many years of uncertainty and just not really knowing what not only my future but Theo's was as he went on and left throughout these lands. For before he became what he is today, he was a simple ranger, venturing through these woods and helping those on their travels and quests. And I feel much like yourself as he kind of motions to you, attuning himself with the nature and the land and animals around it. However, when our village was destroyed by Dracula's armies, when he first started his conquest in the Dracula Wars, Theo wouldn't have it. Set off on his own in revenge, and I warned him against it, but I couldn't sway his mind. And I feared the worst when I never saw him again, and he never returned. But I heard word of him ruling almost a year ago and taking the control over the Isle of Dracula, I believe, right next door. And what was it named now?
Alcardia.
He renamed it even.
It's Alcardia.
Oh, you got it right. Bonus points for you. Give yourself like 20 bonus. Give yourself 20 experience points for remembering. Good job, not you. Nice fucking job.
Cool. I'm gonna have to say.
So,
This makes me joy. Yes, sir.
you know he's a vampire, right?
Oh,
I've
I've heard that he took over the vampires, but I did not know myself that he became one. Is he all right as a vampire? Does he seem well?
Well,
I know, no places wrong with vampires. He isn't going
How well can a vampire be? They're undead.
That's true.
as far as vampires go, yeah, he's not bad.
He's powerful and wise, like father, like son.
It brings me joy that he is wise and has this attunement for. Like I told you, us humans, when we were brought to this land, we were the only humans in existence here. And like I said, there's some of us sought out, and many tried to repopulate and have offspring of their own. Obviously, myself and my wife included. Many of them were hunted down, and a lot of the parents were taken, and many human bloodlines have been hunted down as of recent months and years, and I've been seeking refuge here ever since. But I wish now to go and visit my son. Tell me, are you traveling back to see him now?
Oh no, we will be, but
Not even close.
Where are you headed on your journey?
we've got to take care of this other temple. We're checking out his buddies. We've had a distress
We're
call.
wolf
Everybody-
exterminators.
Wolf.
Yeah.
More than that.
And you see, as you mentioned that, all of a sudden a kind of scarce look fall
He
upon
looked a little white
Warren
all of a
Mars.
sudden.
Dear lad, I do hope you do mean wolves and not
No,
werewolves.
Yeah.
And you see a look of kind of fear as he looks at you all. My son has sent you to...
I know, right?
Fight
He comes
werewolves?
himself is big old powerful.
Okay, hold it.
I'm feeling pretty confident. I've had 3 weeks of this.
I know you're gonna like blame it on your son and all, but I'm like also a reason. 'Cause my monastery, and I want to see if they're
You
okay.
trained with the monks.
Yeah.
Oh, what are you, dear boy?
He's
You
blind.
mean
That's
nature
what
yourself?
Yeah, exactly.
You seem to not be
He's
fully
freaking
elf.
blind.
Are you...
No, I'm half elf, half human, full blind. You know.
So when are your parents? Tell me, was your father or your
Like that's a race, right?
My father was the human.
I must have known him. Do you remember his name?
Sometimes you go. His name was I think Derek. I didn't know him so well.
You're a descendant of Derek the Conqueror.
What?
He takes like a farmer.
For my Derek, see, in my crusades where I come from, he actually was my direct leader. He led my force. There was 20 of us in our platoon, and he led the 20 of us throughout. He was great. He saved many people. I've seen it myself. He was a very strong man, and when we were all transported here to this land, he sought the opportunity to start anew. And I heard that he had taken upon a wife and began farming of some kind in the high hills over near Core Kingdom. And I believe I had heard something about him taking up a wife over there in the hills. But it is so. It is honestly an honor to meet you here. What is your name?
My name is Kai.
Kai.
Yeah.
I prayed for you many great things upon your journeys and for protection upon your adventures as well.
Ask him why he's blind.
No.
That's rude.
Why am I blind?
It would be so rude. It would be like me asking you why you're so incredibly short. But I don't want to because I feel I already know the answer and that you're a magical creature.
Me pointing in the wrong
in
direction.
itself. I like he's at the corner of the wall. Yeah.
I'm just dirty
That is funny.
him without him even knowing.
You are here. Theoden sent you to check on the monastery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the monastery.
Well, we know there's some stuff going down at the moment.
Yeah, something wicked this way comes.
First,
Kind of vision.
and you see this look of horror kind of fall upon Warren's face. I first saw them close to 2-3 weeks ago coming through from the hills and from Core Kingdom itself. I don't know how they traveled, and I'd never seen one so big.
Horns.
Werewolves.
Werewolf? Horns?
Not horns. I never. Not horns. Just
Take your breath.
Dude, do you need to sit down?
it was.
You
It was almost as if they
got it.
came out of nowhere, walking through the fields into the woods. Dozens of them. I ran. I hid. I've only been traveling here to the chapel and back to my homestead, for fear that if they find me, it'll surely be the end. As I spoke of before, in recent years, the humans that remain from the transfer have been hunted. For what reasons or purpose I do not know, but I've feared for myself that them coming here can only mean one thing, and I know of maybe only 2 other humans that reside within these forests. So I don't know why they would be here, but they're at your monastery. It could be something they seek there, perhaps. But the monastery is only maybe a couple hours' journey, continuing due west from this point to southwest.
Show me the map. So where are we at? Show me the map.
Yeah, where are we at?
Whew. You all are about right here, and the monastery is about right down here. So you have about a couple hours journey till you're there.
Can you find out where the alpha is?
The what?
You know, big bad scary wolf alpha.
He was huge. He kind of crinkles up the map.
Don't destroy the map.
I'm sorry.
Use that.
He was enormous. The sheer size of him, I'd never seen anything like it.
With the destruction of property.
I would assume he was with the others, his kin. As legend has it that the Alpha is the only one that can rule over the others and change others into itself and into its form. However, I thought the Alphas were extinct myself.
So where is
The part of the humans that sought out conquering when they first arrived. Sought out to destroy many of the enchanted creatures throughout this land, and werewolves were rumored to be of them that were extinct throughout this realm. Please be careful, my friends. I do not wish any harm upon you all.
So good.
Sounds like animals. Let's go check it out.
Good story, but question:
Yes,
where is the Alpha at? Do you know?
I would assume with the others. I did not see him venture anywhere else.
Where are the others?
At the monastery.
Yeah, at the monastery. He just said that.
Nah, but like, can we get a specific pinpoint location?
He did. He told you
Put it on
west.
the map!
Like, come on. Like,
In the
holy cow,
monastery,
dude.
is there like a specific spot where they hang out?
Yeah, at the monastery.
In the monastery.
Where everybody would
Because
die.
he's a monk.
So we can sneak.
I'm just messing with you.
He's just a dude.
He's just a homie. He
Yeah, my
ain't
brother.
been inside. He knows of the monastery.
It's fine.
And he done told you everything you just asked, which is
He
funny.
ain't been inside the monastery or enough. You know the monastery better than he does. Okay. You know the layout. You know the
Got it.
monastery better than he does. Just being honest with you.
So, when we handle this problem, we might come back. Would you like to come back to Arcadia with us after, we deal with the infestation?
Later.
I would love to. I would love to join you all to venture back home if that,
Well, cool
if that is
beans.
permitted.
I'm game.
There's a cost.
Then please, upon your offering of kindness and taking me to see my son upon your return, allow me to offer you this. And he kind of reaches into his robes and he pulls out 3 small vials. Kind of hands them to you. They have a very dark, straight black liquid in them.
Alright.
If any of your friends seem to suffer from the werewolves themselves, use this vial. A single dose should cure them.
And as Warren Mars gives these guys this, token of, faith and gives them a cure to lycanthropy, they venture off back into the woods and on the way to the monastery. And they're, going for about another hour or so. And they're kind of searching through, and all of a sudden things just seem a bit more grim and dim and not so lifelike. And as they're going through, they get ambushed by a good 8 werewolves. And out comes a 9th, except he's in his kind of humanoid form, and he reveals that this is actually Kobayashi. And Kobayashi was Kai's kind of former best friend back at the monastery. He's kind of his, class rival. They had a lot of history together. Kobayashi had been there much longer at the monastery than Kai had, but he always kind of looked at Kai as kind of a younger brother and kind of helped him, out of everybody else with his training, and always helped him because he just saw, the deeper purpose within Kai. And Kobayashi reveals that he has turned sides and that he is now a true blood werewolf as well, and that he has helped these dark beasts to infiltrate the monastery and pretty much slaughter everybody. And that is where we end our session tonight, because it's going to get kind of crazy as we go into our next one. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, checking everything out, and God bless. Check you on the flip.